I've been really successful in my life. I've broken through barriers. I've established precedents. I've done so many things. But what I didn't realize was that my life was driven by these stories that came from my past. The biggest example, the one that was really core, showed up actually when I was a young mother with two small children. I was working full time, and I took on the additional responsibility of teaching in a night law school. And I did that for 3 years. Looking back on it, I can't believe that I did that. I missed such a precious time with my children. What would cause me to take on that additional burden of teaching in a night law school? But then I realized that there was a story underneath that was driving me, and that was that I needed to succeed. And I didn't feel like I was succeeding at home. There was this story in our family that if anything went wrong, it was mother's fault. And somehow that landed in me as I can't succeed. I can't be a good mother. So I can succeed somewhere else. And I was hungry for that. That's what drove me to do so many things. Going deeper, I realized that that came from when I was a little child. And my father loved the things that I could do. So I would perform and he would be happy and he would praise me and I would perform and so on. And somehow I concluded that I needed to perform to earn love, which was crazy. 40 years later, I discovered he loved me unconditionally all the time. But as a child, I drew this conclusion, and it really shaped my life. Yes, I carried a massive piece of litigation in the US courts on behalf of women in employment. Wells versus Bank of America was the first promotion-defined litigation on behalf of women in employment. 4 years of litigation, and we succeeded in a settlement that today would be worth around $43 million. I succeeded. Somehow, my kids grew up just fine, but always striving to perform and to be successful. That was defining. And you know how we are as parents. We're trying to do the best by our kids, and we're always trying to say the right thing. But honestly, if I knew then what I know now, I think my kids would be a lot happier, although they are getting along really well as it is. I remember one time we were camping, and we'd been taken in on horseback, and we had this little tent, and it started to rain. And it was not a fancy tent with a rain fly. It was just a tent. And so you had to not brush up under the little bubbles in the tent on the underside of the ripstop nylon in order to stay dry. If you bump those bubbles, then you were going to get wet. Well, during the night, my youngest son, who was 3, called out and he said, "Mom, I'm wet." And I said, "Oh no, Matt, you didn't pee in the sleeping bag." You know, so first thinking that he was wet because of that. Well, it turned out there was about 2 gallons of water in his sleeping bag. But I saw how my assumption, it didn't hurt him, but it sure showed me how I could have been different, how I could have been not in my kind of duty-drivenness. There's another story that comes out of the time when I was running a company in San Francisco. We were the first private nationwide mediation firm in the US. And I had a woman there, an employee, who was more like an HR person. And I had asked her not to do something, and she had done it. And I just landed on her. This is not my style, but somehow I really landed on her. And one of my colleagues, a marvelous mediator named Dave Jenkins from Marin County, came over to me and said, "Hey, can we talk?" And he took me aside and he said, "This isn't about her. Whatever's going on in you right now isn't about her." And I could see it. Bless people who do things like that. It was so good that he showed me that. And so I went back into this gal and I said, "I am sorry. How I reacted to what happened was not about you. It was about something in me." And we had the best relationship after that. It was so good. So these are some of the bumps that happen in life. And I thought you'd enjoy sharing those. Since that time, I've taken on so many new skills and abilities. And it's all brought me to where I am now, where I can really offer you something tangible, meaningful in your life that can make a difference.